Hi, I'm Heather Medina, Assistant Director of Admissions at Stockton University. It is quite unfortunate that we're unable to welcome you at our beautiful campus, but we hope that these virtual presentations will help you on your journey of becoming an Osprey. I will cover all of the process of applying to the university, and my colleague, Chris Connors from the Office of Financial Aid, will go into a little bit more detail on some helpful hints on submitting the FAFSA. Let's get started. So a total undergraduate and graduate population at the university is a little bit over 9,000 students. Our total undergraduate freshman class has been a little bit over 1,500, and our new transfer students are a little bit over 1,100. And 95% of them do attend full-time. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is important. The average applications that we receive each year are a little bit over 6,000. The average GPA has been over a B average, and the average SAT has been over 1,100. When you're ready to apply, you can submit the application several ways, either through the Stockton website or through Common App. We do not prefer one over the other. We simply encourage you to apply. So some of the requirements are naturally submitting the application fee of $50 or a fee waiver from the guidance office. We're going to need the official high school transcripts, standardized test scores, but we'll talk a little bit more about our test optional policy. We do require that you submit an essay, 1 to 2 letters of recommendation. So if you are applying test optional, there are a couple things that we're going to look very closely at. One, obviously, is your overall academic performance. We're going to be looking at the letters of recommendation, your essay, naturally things that you are involved in, such as extracurricular activities. But naturally, we're going to look for a balance. So a student that's able to handle outside responsibilities along with their academic work. When submitting the application, make sure that you answer all questions on the application. Again, you will need to submit either a fee waiver or pay the application fee. Many schools today use Naviance to have their counselors upload the official transcripts and letters of recommendation. And so that's a process that you'll need to work out with your high school counselors to make sure that we're able to obtain your information. And the standardized test scores, if you are submitting scores, should be sent from College Board or ACT. Pay very close attention to the deadlines. I think that a number of students think because we are on a rolling admission, they have time to submit an application. And that very much might be the case in some instances, but the rolling process basically means that once we receive an application and your application is complete, we're going to make it and render a decision. Okay, and many times it can take as little as a week for us to make a formal decision on an application. So that we have a late deadline of May 1st, we encourage students to submit an application around that time frame of October to December, and submitting that application is important. Pay very close attention to the deadline dates for our specialty programs. And again, the deadline date doesn't mean that you submit that information on that date. It is encouraged that you submit the application prior to the dates that you see here. So for those students that are reviewed for admission and we feel as though need additional academic support, we may recommend for them to take advantage of our alternative admissions option. Stockton has always been known as a transfer-friendly institution, so we've teamed up with several of our different county colleges throughout the state to offer this support to the students. So this is an alternative admissions program. And once the student starts off at the local county colleges and is able to successfully complete coursework there, it is a conditional admission to the university. So as promised, Chris Connors is here with us today from the Office of Financial Aid, and he's going to go into a little bit more detail about that financial aid process. Chris, take it away.
Thank you so much, Heather. Hello, my name is Chris Connors, and on behalf of the Office of Financial Aid at Stockton University, thank you for joining us. I hope that these next slides that I present to you, whether you're the incoming student or the parent of the incoming student, will be beneficial to you as you begin to prepare for the financial aid process. Now, before I begin any financial aid presentation, I always like to first start to talk about cost. Direct costs are listed below. Understand that these are the current costs at Stockton University. So if you're an in-state student living on campus, your costs will be tuition and fees, room and board, totaling $26,859. Similarly, an out-of-state student will be charged $34,147. If I'm speaking to a potential commuter, understand that your costs will be tuition and fees. So $14,317 for an in-state commuter. These costs are all before financial aid and scholarships. Understand too that these costs are split evenly for a fall semester and a spring semester, so they are annual costs. How is financial aid determined? Well, it is first determined by taking into account direct costs, as we just discussed in that last screen. These direct costs are your bill. Also, in addition to direct costs, it takes into consideration indirect costs. What are indirect costs? Indirect costs are costs outside of your bill. For example, books and supplies, which are not on your bill. Transportation costs, as another example, not on your bill. These two costs equal what is called a cost of attendance for students, or what we like to call in the Office of Financial Aid, a budget. Know that federal and state grants are applied to that cost of attendance if the student is eligible. Families will also receive what's called an EFC, or an estimated family contribution. Understand that this is an index number. It is an index number calculated by a federal methodology after a student submits the financial aid application, the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA. EFCs are based upon many factors. Some factors are household size, the number in college, income and assets. An EFC for some families may be high based upon that calculation, putting you out, as you can see on the screen, of eligibility for those federal and state grants. EFCs may be low, then making families eligible for those federal and state grants. What is important when financial aid is determined is the difference between those direct costs and indirect costs, that cost of attendance, as well as the difference between that and the EFC. And that will give you what's called financial need. Financial need is that cost of attendance we discussed minus that EFC calculated after completing the financial aid application. That will give you what's financial need. And that is the mission of my office, to help fill in that financial need. So how's it done? Stockton offers 4 different types of financial aid: scholarships, grants, work study, essentially working on campus, as well as loans. Yes, they are a form of financial aid. Going through the numbers, 54% of our incoming freshmen receive some merit scholarship, and 13.8 million total scholarships are awarded per year at Stockton University. If you're looking for scholarship opportunities, I recommend visiting the admissions website. There, it will list the scholarship opportunities, more importantly, the criteria, and most importantly, the amounts for those scholarships. If you're looking for scholarships outside of the institution, private, external scholarships, I recommend everybody to go to the financial aid website, click on sources of financial aid, and there will be a site that says Scholarship Resource Center, what is put together by my office, giving you a list, a good list of reputable outside private scholarship opportunities. Continuing with the numbers, 86% of students receive financial aid at Stockton University. Very important to complete that FAFSA application, making you eligible for financial aid. $15,415 average financial aid package per year for students. Understand that's an average. When there's an average, there's numbers below, but there's also numbers above that. So once again, extremely important to apply for financial aid. So how do you do so? We recommend you to file online at fafsa.gov, government website, where you create a username using what's called a FSA ID, or another way to go about it is downloading an application, a mobile app, either through iPhone or Android. It's called My Student Aid, which is put together by Federal Student Aid. It's just another option to do. It gives you nudges, push notifications for reminders, and step-by-step instructions to walk you through the application process. Be sure to insert our school code. So we are considered in your list of schools that you may want to attend. Be sure to put Stockton University. And if you can't look us up, you can always put in that code 009345, and that will put in Stockton as a choice school. Be aware of the application date, when it starts and when it should be coming to an end. October 1st starts that application every year, okay? And if I were to give you a deadline, April 15th, but we're not going to wait that long. April 15th is so important for our renewal students because that is the state deadline. If a student misses that deadline, they may then be ineligible for grants that they were eligible for before. If they miss that deadline, they will lose out on a tremendous opportunity. If you're looking for additional assistance, I recommend visiting stockton.edu/FAFSA. These are step-by-step instructions completing you through the entire financial aid process, not just the FAFSA process. Understand that there's a process after application. If you may have requirements created by the federal government, or let's say if you receive money and you still have a balance, we will talk about ways on /FAFSA how to bridge that gap, how to satisfy your balance with the Bursar's office. For additional tips and tricks, in addition to stockton.edu/FAFSA, I recommend you to join our growing list of followers on our social media, the financial aid social media, at Stockton FinAid. We have posts, we have scholarship opportunities, tips, tricks, events on campus, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So I do recommend, whether you're the student or the parent, wherever you may go, financial information is pretty much universal, so it is an excellent resource for all. And that concludes our presentation. I want to thank you for joining us on behalf of Heather and myself. If you have any other questions, be sure to reach out to the Office of Admissions or the Office of Financial Aid.